Smile, you're on a candid camera. It's not very candid. Is it? I saw Bill Ford up there, standing on the back porch of the...
Oh my God, in black suits.
Is this the sound of the Rockies?
Yeah. See if,
I hope we can hear them.
I bet that's our sound system over here.
Tell that guy in front of you to get down in front. You remember a group called Kowalski Twins that could have us?
dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars gleam. Though it be a cross that raiseth me, and let us Excelsior, 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 my song shall be nearer, my God, to thee. Dirigemus Domine, Angusta, Sicura, Excelsior.
Thanks for that ridiculously good radio plug-in. We did it! Years ago this weekend, we were sitting at the American Cemetery at Omaha Beach in Normandy, France, broadcasting my radio show back to Denver. I was sitting in a shed with a window that looked out over the 9,387 graves that peacefully lie where hell had once come to earth. Floyd Parsons and Benny Duran and Lester Rose from Colorado are there, as are 97 others from our state who died liberating Europe and defending the world's freedom. During the broadcast, a man stopped by who was about 65 years old and was visiting his brother's grave for the first time. He was there because he had hated his father his whole life, because he chose to have his brother buried overseas and not returned home to a grave he could visit. I held my father responsible for keeping him away from me, not the Germans, he said. An hour or so later, he came back, eyes swollen red from a lifetime of tears flowing freely, and he said, "My dad was right." After the broadcast, I walked through those graves one last time and wondered, how many of Colorado's fallen have had visits from home in the 24 American cemeteries around the world? How many people have spent lifetimes being angry and heartbroken? And what could we do about it? 13 years later, the Colorado Freedom Memorial is what we did about it. Fred Springstead, who you will find near the top of the far right panel as you look at the memorial, is the first from Colorado to give his life in action since we became a state. He was killed in the Philippines during the Spanish-American War and left behind a young bride he had married just before setting sail. 23-year-old Corporal David Sonka of Parker was killed just 3 weeks ago in Afghanistan. He and his dog Flex were buried together, and he is listed on the granite inset on the far left side of the Colorado Freedom Memorial. In between them are 115 years of heroes, Coloradans who took up the fight when their country called and gave all. 115 years of honor, pride, heartbreak, grief, anger, and sacrifice. Today we say to them across the generations, we have not and we will not forget you, and we will strive to live lives that reflect our gratitude for your sacrifice. Here in this special place, families can come and reunite with the treasured memories of sons, daughters, husbands, and comrades who gave their futures for ours. Here, we can all feel closer to those we hold dear. 4 days ago, a woman came here while construction was still underway and asked if she could look at the memorial. Our contractor, Mike Yagi, was here, and he asked her who she was looking for, and she told him he was a Vietnam veteran. Mike stopped what he was doing, walked her to the Vietnam panels, and there she saw his name. She reached up to touch it, but it was just out of reach. So Mike let her do what I don't want any of you to do today. He let her step up on the wall so that she could touch her brother's name. She was 13 years old when he passed away, and as she stood at that wall, 40 years of tears came forth. We let her stay and cry as long as she needed to. The loss still that painful. The Colorado Freedom Memorial cannot bring you closure, but it will bring you closer. This is a place to leave your tears. I'm sorry it took us so long to build this memorial and that many people who looked forward to this day are not here, including my very own mom. I do believe their gentle direction from above kept me moving forward. There were many days when I had just spoke to a group of 5 people in a meeting room at a greasy spoon when I wondered if this day would ever come. It was then I would think back to a quote by Earl Nightingale that said, "Don't let the fear of the time it will take to accomplish something stand in the way of your doing it. The time will pass anyway." There are so many people that have helped along the way, and if I name one without naming another, I'll feel bad. Those of you who picked us up when we needed it, most know it, and I am forever grateful to you. There are 2 people, however, I must mention. Christopher Kenton is the designer of the Colorado Freedom Memorial, and what you see in front of you is his brilliant vision. And I would like Christopher to please stand up right now. We met once 12 and a half years ago, for the first time 12 and a half years ago, and the memorial hasn't changed since then. I am as proud of him and as grateful to him as I could be. Thank you, Christopher, for designing the most incredible memorial I've ever seen. The second person is the lady who's about to be really angry that I'm even bringing her up, but whose courage and strength have been an inspiration to me. During this journey, we welcomed 3 grandchildren. I lost my mom, and Diane suffered a stroke. Through her faith and determination, she recovered beautifully to the point of taking over as project manager for the Colorado Freedom Memorial, and along with her sister Terry, headed up the planning of these activities. I have heard her cry with Gold Star families and lay awake at night worried about how we would make this work. There is no doubt in my mind that without Diane Crandall, there would be no Colorado Freedom Memorial. I want to thank, too, the staff at KEZW and at Entercom Radio here in Denver, who, along with Diane, have grown very fearful of hearing the words, "Hey, I've got an idea." The radio station staff keeps me very young at heart. They keep me very focused and very motivated. And to Amy and to that entire team, I am incredibly grateful. In a few minutes, you will be able to walk past the memorial and see the names of those who know well the price of freedom because they paid it. While we have succeeded in building the memorial, there is still much to be done. We must now maintain this memorial, continue to landscape the space it sits in. We're also starting a campaign to learn who these heroes were in life, and we're developing a curriculum to teach students about sacrifice and service. We'll need your help then, like we always have, but for this day, let us celebrate, let us commemorate, and let us know that here, in this place, on this day, we honored the very best of us. This day, we did it. Thank you.
I am now going to read the name of each war represented on the Colorado Freedom Memorial, and as I do that, a bouquet of columbines, our state flower, will be placed in front of the panel for each conflict. Following the last bouquet placement, a quartet from the Sound of the Rockies will sing "Bring Them Home." And please be seated if you wish. Please rise for the rifle salute of the playing of taps. Please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. A couple of quick notes for you before we open the wall for you to visit our memorial. The flags are at half-mast today, as you notice, not only because it's Memorial Day weekend, but because this is a place of remembrance, because this is a memorial. The flags will always be displayed here at the Colorado Freedom Memorial at half-mast. So when you come by and visit, you'll notice that that's the position they'll be in. So I wanted to explain that. And I also would real quickly like to explain what we're going to try to accomplish here so we don't have a stampede. We're going to have the folks that are in the seated area up here just begin the process of moving right to left across the memorial. We will have folks stationed up at the memorial that will have directories, that will have the panel numbers for a loved one or someone you served with who you may be looking for. There will be a permanent directory on this site beginning June 1st, but for today we'll be using some good old paper directories up there. So.